I'm one of those people that have stopped searching for properties because of the interest rate, right? And you might be conflicted, asking yourself whether you should wait or you should actually buy now, right? So this video is all about just that, right? So watch the video until the end to find out whether you should wait or whether you should buy your property right now, right? But before I get to that, right, the first thing we need to understand is how the interest rate have been going over the years. Because if you don't understand the history of interest rate, then there's no way you will be able to make that call or to make that decision, right? So you need to be able to understand, right? And what is the role of interest rate, right? The main role of interest rate, you have what is called a repo rate and the prime lending rate. Né? So those are two different interest rates, but let's clear it down on what those interest rates mean. So the repo rate is an interest rate that the Reserve Bank lends money to a commercial bank. A commercial bank in South Africa, we're talking about FNB, Standard Bank, Nedbank, Absa, right? So those are the banks. Now that repo rate, né, is not the same as the interest rate that these commercial banks they lend money to consumers like you and me. So when the bank lends money to you and me, they use what is called the prime lending rate, which is the interest rate that we will be really focusing on and talking about here. So that interest rate is the interest rate that the banks charges you and me whenever we take a loan from the bank. So they use that as a base, which means that they can give you, depending on your credit score, they can give you prime minus or prime plus, right? So the main importance of that interest rate is to determine how much you will repay to the bank on a monthly basis, right? Because if you take a loan, you need to repay that money on a monthly basis. So if that interest rate is higher, for example, let's say you get prime plus, it means the bank sees you as someone that is risky, right? Your credit profile is not that good, which means that your payment behavior in the past was not so good, right? It means that it will be much more expensive for you to lend money. And if the interest rate at that point in time is higher, it makes it even much worse for you, right? And the opposite is true on the other side. If your credit score or the bank regards you as a low risk person, then they give you a lower interest rate, which will be prime or prime minus, right? Which means that the cost of borrowing for you is cheaper compared to someone that is issues with a credit payment, right? So now that's that out of the way, I hope you clearly understand the differences in terms of the interest rate and what they mean and what they imply to you, right? Because they just determine overall how much is the interest that you'll pay over the loan term. In most cases, when you buy a property, you'll pay between the loan term of 20 years, 25 years, or 30 years for most people, right? So where had the interest rate be? And how do you actually make this decision whether to buy a property now or whether to wait, right? So I've went and checked the interest rate, how they've been fluctuating, how they've been going up and down all the way from 1992, so that I can really be able to tell you where the interest rate have been, right? So there's some periods or events where I have skipped, but I focus only on where there was a major 10, whether a major 10 going up, whether a major 10 going down. That's when I was looking at, right? But when you started in 1992, right, the interest rate was standing at 18.25%. Can you believe it, right? And then from there, the next time it changed, when it actually went down, it went to 15.25% in 1993, which was a year later. Ne? And then just after that, 3 years later, it went up to 20.50. We have not really seen this in recent time, because it's been changing. And then in the same year, it went down to 19.25%, right? Then 2 years later, which is in 1998, it went back to 18.25%, which was the same as in 1992, right? And then in the same year of 1998, it went all the way 25.50%. So if you actually see this, you will see that the interest rate we have seen very much worse interest rate, right? And then after the 25.5% in 2001, it went down, right? Almost by 15%, by 50% to 13%, right? That was very, very good, right? That was most people would have felt relieved at that point. I mean, if you are paying an interest rate of 25.5%, that's too much. And then in 2001, it went to 13%. And then in 2002, it went to 17%. So it went again up high. And then in 2005, it went to 10.5. So this has been the best interest rate since, actually. So in this case, for it to come to closer to a 10% bracket, it took 10 years to get there, right? 10 years, or more than 10 years, because that was 2005. So we're talking about 13 years, right? So from 1992 all the way to 2005, it went to something that is more favorable, around 10% in 2005. So it took 10 years to get there. But let's leave that. In 2008, it went 15.5%, right? And then in around 4 years later, it went to something that is, for the first time, lower than 10%, where it went to 8.5% in 2012, right? So now if you move from 1992 to 2012, that is 20 years for it to get to a favorable place, right? And then in 2017, it went to 10.5, it went up. And then the best interest rate that you have had since 1992, which was also below 10%, is 7%, just immediately after COVID or during COVID, right? And now in 2023, we are standing at 11.75%. What does this tell you? What does this tell you? Right? So I've heard so many people that says they're stopping to buy property at the moment, right? So because they're looking at interest rate. But the question is, for how long will you wait to get a more favorable interest rate for you? For how long? How long? I mean, you should be working on bettering your credit score, right, to ensure that you get the best interest rate, to ensure that you are able to be in a better position to negotiate a best interest rate. Because this evidence of interest rate of where they've been since 1992, I could have gone all the way back for you to see. But from here, you can be able to see that already, if you want to wait for interest rate to become lower, you are playing a losing game. Because think about this. Home values, in most cases, they always go up. There's here and there where they don't appreciate, but in most cases, a home value will appreciate in time, right? So what it means is that, for example, if you are waiting for interest rate to go down the way you want them to go down. You're going to wait for a certain period, maybe 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, who knows? But that wait does not really benefit you, because at the same time, the property price that you were hoping for has went up as well. Have went up, maybe the price have went 2 times, 3 times, maybe 4 times already, maybe 5 times. So what is the point? The rule of real estate is you buy real estate and you wait. Right? You buy real estate and you wait. That's the best thing you can do for yourself to generate or to start building wealth for yourself. There is no point of waiting for interest rate, because there is no telling when the interest rate will actually go up, will actually go down. We are all just anticipating. Just like now, what we have seen is that the interest rate have sort of reached the peak. So we anticipate that the interest rate will go down early in the beginning of 2024. But something in the market might change, right? Then inflation start going up again. We never know. So when inflation goes up, then they increase the interest rate again. Or something happen that we cannot foresee, because the market is unpredictable. So the best thing is to do for you and for your family. If you feel that you need a home, buy yourself a home and have your family at a place where they will love, they will enjoy, where you will build memories in that 20 years or 30 years or whatever, right? Then you just build memories. When you feel it's time to sell, then you sell. But don't wait for interest rate, because you will not even know. Why would you wait for something that is not even in your control? Let's leave it here. The big elephant, Ndokuria Manage. Cheers. I'm out.